Previously on We Teach.
I teach mostly AP classes. That's known as advanced placement. And it's a system that was put in high schools so that high school students could take college level classes. I have 33 students in each of my AP classes. These kids are amazing. They're getting into top schools. The difficulty level of the work that we're doing now versus what I did when I was in high school, there is no comparison. You know, I was in some of the advanced classes in my high school, and the work that we're doing now is 10 times harder than anything that I ever did.
Introduction to Family Consumer Science. In that class, they take 6 to 8 weeks of sewing. They have also a section of the year where they do foods. They study foods. Another section, child development, interior design. So they can take this course to have a little taste of everything. So if they would like to take foods the year after or clothing, they know what to expect. All right, is that the top or the bottom?
That's the bottom.
Oh, this is the bottom?
Yeah.
Your tension's just a little different. You're fine.
Oh, I've never
That's
used
what they're making.
I never used this machine before.
No, it's fine. You're doing well.
Okay.
Today, as I introduce Europe, I think I'm going to approach it a little differently and talk about my experiences living in Germany. My students know that I was born in Germany. They know that I'm an Army brat, and I figured I'd show them a couple of pictures of places that I lived, some of the places that I visited, some of the things that I did when I lived in Germany. This picture was probably taken in the 1930s. When I played baseball in the stadium, I'm guessing it was probably 1966 or 67 I played there, but this is where Hitler had his rallies. Now again, when we're living in Germany back in the 1960s, it's 20 years after the war, and there's still a lot of war ruins left behind. And it's one of the reasons why I actually started liking history, because I lived in Germany, was able to go certain places to where Hitler spoke and where he had his famous rallies.
English 2 students are my sophomore honors students, and they've been working on The Crucible. We've been reading it mostly in class because I wanted them to get the flavor of the language and to really understand the characters in the play. And so we have been working on that, and to put a contemporary spin on that, today we're reading a poem called Half-Hanged Mary by Margaret Atwood. Now I only need to look out at them through my sky blue eyes. They see their own ill will staring them in the forehead and turn tail. Before I was not a witch, but now I am one. Tenured teachers are observed twice a year, once in the first semester and once in the second semester, and my supervisor, Mr. Justin Smith, came in to observe me last Tuesday. And after an observation, I mean, he'll sit in a class and then he'll write up what he saw, and then there's a post-observation conference where you go and sit and talk with your supervisor about, you know, what you did, how you could improve, you know, what would make it better. And it's nice to be able to talk to Justin because, you know, he's an English teacher at heart, and so he knows what's going on and he understands what's happening in the classroom.
You got a chance to read through the
I did.
observation report.
Yeah. You're very thorough.
Oh. Well, how did you think the lesson went?
Well, it's The Crucible, okay? So it's going to go well, especially considering the kids that I have. I mean, they are so into this play. There were audible gasps at certain parts in this play. And, you know, to get a bunch of sophomores to actually appreciate literature like that is really cool. So I didn't have any concerns about how they were enjoying the literature, just, you know, would I get it all in time, which I hardly ever do. And so it always runs over to the next day. That's my only concern. I had to pick it up later on, but it's all right. I think they're getting out of it what I want them to get out of it. So.
And
you want me to?
That begs the question,
Yes.
what do you want them to get out of it?
Well, okay, so it's this amazing piece of literature. So, you know, when you're teaching it, and you preface it with, you know, the McCarthy hearings and the witchcraft trials, but when we get to the fourth act, And I want them to see it transcends all of that. It's not about McCarthyism, and it's not about witchcraft trials. It's about this love story between John and Elizabeth, and these characters come to life in that. And that's what I want them to see. I mean, here they are, they've wasted all this precious time, and they're about to lose each other, and here's the moment where they can make a choice, and the choice they have to make is so hard, and I want them to relate to that and understand that it could be happening then, or it could be happening now, or sometime in the future. It's the people, you know, that are involved, and that's what I want them to get out of it, and I think they did.
One other thing I really like about your process is the way you scaffold questions, and you know, you sometimes you ask them rapid fire, sometimes you slow it down, move it around. What's going on in your mind while you're asking questions? Like while they're answering and you're asking, what are some of the internal monologue that you have with yourself?
Well, you know how it is in the classroom. So first, I want to make sure that they're getting what I want them to get. It's kind of a selfish thing. I want them to understand what I think they should understand. But as they're answering the questions, sometimes the question I had in mind to ask next, I'm not going to ask now because somebody has said something that takes us in a different direction. But fast and slow is only because I want to keep them on a, I want to keep them eager to respond. I want to make sure that they all want to answer. So that's always in my mind, and I want to make sure that I'm asking them, how and what questions, and not like, who said this in this act. I want them to, like, what's motivating these characters to do the things they do, not the detail things. I want to make sure their minds are working, And so that's what I try to do. Sometimes better than others, but generally speaking, just to make sure that they're getting to the meat, the good stuff in there.
Your seating arrangement is semi-unique, I'd say. I mean, it's not very common. Mostly, it's the rows. You've got two concentric U's, and you sit kind of like at the
like
open space of the U.
Like the queen in the hive.
So yeah. So what
because rows, then all they see is the back of the person's head in front of them. And I don't want them. If I could, if space permitted, I would have them in a big circle and they could see everybody. But this way, at least when they're talking, they can see each other's face for the most part. And that's why I have set it up that way. So that I can be there or I can be somewhere else, but they're still conversing with each other. I want them to have a dialogue about what's going on in the literature or what's going on in class, and they can't do that if they're looking at the back of somebody's head. Because I have the luxury of teaching English. I don't know what it's, if I was teaching another subject, but in English they have to be able to talk to each other and to me, but primarily to each other, because that's where all the good stuff is.
Yeah.
So that's why.
I was meeting with a student today who was going to drop from AP Language and Composition down to English 3 Level 2. And she told me that she wants to be an English teacher. And so I
know this student.
So I was telling her, well, that's why I'm bringing this up. So I'm talking to her, and I'm saying, like, the same way that a boy typically might wish to become a professional baseball player, and he's out, doing batting practice at 11, or he wants to be a pro basketball player and he's out shooting hoops at age 11. I said, just the same, if you believe you want to be an English teacher and you're 16 or you're 17, you can do things right now to get ready for that. And I said, taking this class will get you ready for that. Taking this AP, don't drop this class. You have to take this AP Language and Composition class. If you have to give something up, let's work on where else you can cut back, because she has a job and is working a lot. And she says to me, you know what, Mr. Smith? Miss P was telling me the exact same thing.
And I don't want you to die of pressure. I just don't want you to drop that class. It's discussing literature and doing all the cool stuff.
Didn't you teach us that we have to do what we want?
Yes.
Be transcendental.
Yes, be transcendental, but don't give up on yourself.
And so when you're saying that to her and I'm saying it to her, then I'm like, I'm on the right track. So, because I'm like, I could see this girl teaching English someday.
She wants to. She always has wanted. That's what she wants to do. And I'm so afraid that if she gives up on this now, she'll change that, because she'd be really good. Yeah, she's a great kid.
In astronomy class today, we were investigating a variety of telescopes. And the main types of telescopes we have are reflecting and refracting telescopes. Let's say, for example, the Hubble Space Telescope. We don't have that here in this room. We need to do a project of sorts, go down, investigate what are the features, what are the benefits of having a telescope like that in space. Now, Kaylin's thinking this. All right, I've got to get a good grade in astronomy, so what can I do? Number one, we need a photograph of the telescope. The type, design, diagram of internal components. Is there a wide range of telescopes? Yes. Basic two families, though, you're usually reflecting or refracting. They either have the lens situation or a mirror. Some of these telescopes are very unusual, though. A diagram of internal components, could you actually have a cutaway version of, say, the telescope itself, and you can see how it operates inside? Kind of what we did on the other ones. History of the telescope. James Webb, for example, has a sordid history. It's been being built and constructed and put in orbit now for the last 10 years. It's got a long history. Features, aperture, that's the size of the lens or mirror. Resolving power, that's the ability to see what? The space between objects. So if we have two people together, yes. All right, you're far away. Doesn't it look like you're one object? So it's the ability to separate things and make them look like two different objects. Detectors. Do they use CCD chips? Do you use your eye? I mean, what are you using there? Range of observed frequencies and energies. Any special features? Anything that's kind of cool about it? Discoveries, images from the telescope. What do we learn, and what objects can you observe? On page 137, they have some objects you can look at. And then 6, some type of a summary of sorts. So the students use the format of a program called Photo Story. It's a simplified version of PowerPoint that uses vocals. So we have headsets. Students take the headset, put it on, they have a microphone, and they can verbalize what they want to project in their stories. So you can still put pictures in there, some simplified bullets, but for the most part it's speaking. So I find that in the classroom, when students use this particular format, people are inherently interested in listening to other people and what they say. And I think it's more natural for that to happen. I seem to get better results than people watching PowerPoint slides, one after another. And Photo Story seems to fit the bill better as far as keeping everybody engaged in that learning process. Today's just the beginning of it. They just started to do a little bit of research on it. They know the basics about telescopes, resolving power, the actual magnification of the telescope, the aperture, you know, the resolution, all those things that you should know about telescopes if you actually understand them. They're going to apply that to various telescopes, and I think they're going to have a lot of fun with it. I think it's going to be a great project.
My U.S. History 1 class is a requirement that all sophomores have to take. It's a sophomore class. We just finished up a unit on the Reconstruction period in U.S. history, and today we're going to start talking about settlement west of the Mississippi River. Why did we start going west after the Civil War? What were we looking for? All right, gold is one reason. Not the gold rush of 1849, because there's gold found in other places. Another reason why we started going west. All right, more land. Just put land. There's a couple reasons. Another one. Ooh, good. Yeah, opportunity, or we can just put jobs, or. All right. And by the way, when I say west, we're going west across what river? Mississippi River. Any other reasons why? Now, those are 3 of the good reasons why people went west, but, Jake?
Mining.
Very good. And we can put mining right next to gold, or?
Ranching. Just a guess.
What'd you say?
Ranching.
Good guess. Put down ranching. We're going to talk about the impact of mining and various metals that were found as a result of mining, as well as cattle and cattle ranching, and how it started to change America as we continue our westward movement and start moving towards the 1880s and 1890s in U.S. history. Americans started moving west, and a couple of mining strikes came about in the areas of gold and silver that caused people to go west of the Mississippi River. And my second bullet, I mentioned the Comstock strike, was a silver mine that was created and found in Nevada, where a lot of people came to get wealthy. or tried to get wealthy. Colorado was another mining strike, Pikes Peak, which is one of the highest mountains, or tallest mountains in the American Southwest. Denver, Colorado now becomes the second largest western city. South Dakota, Montana, 2 other states that benefit from the discovery of minerals. Now what happens is you have a period of boom and bust. Some of these towns are doing real well. When the resources are plentiful, it's referred to as a boom period. A lot of cities came into being, they did well. But then, when the resources ran out, when the gold ran out, when the silver ran out, when the copper ran out, now became a bust period. So a lot of times when talking about American West, as Americans went west, in the 1860s and 70s and 80s, you hear the period of boom and bust. You can go out west today in places like Colorado and Nevada and find towns that are like ghost towns. A lot of these towns came about and became ghost towns because of this period of boom and bust. And do me a favor, star that on your paper, the terms boom and bust. So this is one of the things that happens as a result of the mining industry. Ranching was another reason why people went west. And what had happened was people in the east needed beef. They wanted to eat. People in the east and people in the northeast were doing well. They wanted to eat more beef. So you need cattle. So people went west to become ranchers. And you eventually, in places like California, New Mexico, and of course Texas, you had these big ranches came into being. Does anyone, how many people here can ride a horse? Anyone ride a horse in here? Anyone interested in being a rancher? You want to be a rancher? Round up cattle? You can still do that today. But ranching became a big business after the Civil War because people needed beef to eat. Plus, as you can see in the second bullet, raising cattle was a good way to make some money. All right, now, what happened is you have all these people, cowboys and people going west, and you started using cattle drives to get the cattle to market. Some of these drives, if you look at the last bullet here, started in Texas and went north to Kansas, 500 miles. A long drive, a long way to get cattle to market. And this is a map showing, by the way, various trails. The Chisholm Trail is very famous. That the cattlemen would take their cattle from here and drive them up into Kansas, get them on rail cars, and then ship them to places like Chicago, till they had the meat markets, and then from Chicago they'd ship them further back east to the Philadelphias and New Yorks and Baltimores of the world. At the end of the period, you try to wrap up your classroom activities and not let the bell be the end. You try to ask a final question to try to pull your lesson together. And one of the things that we've learned is something that I think a number of teachers use. It's called a ticket to leave. And you can ask a couple different things. Sometimes you can ask your students to make up questions. Or in today's lesson, I wanted them to list 5 things they learned today. Just 5 simple things. And it gives me a chance to look it over and find out, are they paying attention and did they learn something? Put your name on the top and simply name for me 5 things you learned today without using your outline. 5 new things that you learned today without using your outline. At the end of the period, as I was looking over some of the comments, some of them were funny, but again, it gives me a check to see if they're paying attention, if they're learning a few things.
At Lenape, physics teacher Jim Hessler employs some visual aids to help his students understand today's lesson about sound waves.
The particular apparatus we use today, a string is tied to a loudspeaker. Normally a loudspeaker you think of, being in some type of, in your living room or attached to your television. The cone moves in and out to create the waves for the sound. So as it moves up and down, that's what creates the sound, the pressure waves in your ear. So we have a particular apparatus. You take the speaker and flip it vertically and mount a post to it. So when the speaker moves up and down, you can still hear it, but the post moves. Attached to the post is a string, and then the string is an elastic band that is quite lengthy. So not only can you hear the sound, you can actually see the propagation of the wave through the string, and you can actually see the waves that are formed by that sound. 39 centimeters, 0.39. All right, frequency? 50 hertz. All right, let's find out the velocity. All right, what's the velocity you got now on that? 50 times the 0.39? All right, I want to put all the people on one side of the room that think formulas are something to be memorized and that it really has no physical meaning to it. And I don't really have to think or anything because I'm just going to memorize stuff. The one thing I like to think about in physics is that people need to understand things in their heart. It's not just a formula that I write down on an index card, memorize it, and then throw it away when I leave this classroom and go on to college. If you really understand something, the formula is a consequence of your understanding. So if I understand a person, I understand an idea, I understand a concept, I can always write the formula down because I understand it. The understanding comes first, the formula comes second. Does the formula have a physical meaning? All right, now, when I think about it, what's going to change the velocity? What does this formula mean? Now, I can't remember the stupid formula. I can't remember the stupid formula, but I know what's going on. I know what's going on. I know that it has something to do with the tension. Where am I going to put that in this formula? In the numerator. Does it have anything to do with the heaviness of the string? What is that called? There's a fancy name for it. All right, whoopee-ding. Linear density, fine. Now, the density goes up. That means the string is heavy. The velocity goes down. How are they related to each other? Inversely proportional. Should we put it in the numerator or the denominator? All right, and then we have to do the square root for reasons unknown. Okay? So, did you actually know the formula before you actually got here? Yes. You probably did, didn't you? All right, did you know it in your heart before? Isn't it just a way of saying, like, what you already knew? All those people, that's a powerful thing, yes? So I think everybody in the class, including Emily, should be on this side because formulas are not something to be memorized. They're something to be alive inside of you, okay? The wave has a characteristic, it's called a standing wave. It has wavelength. These are waves that you would see were associated with guitars, violins, cello, whatever stringed instrument. So we took that idea, measured the velocity of it, proved a couple equations, tried to make the equations come alive. If I take this spring right here and I make a wave pulse, you see how the humpy thing kind of traveled through the spring, went over to the spigoty thing and then reflected back this way? Let me try it again. You can actually watch it travel through the spring. Yes, you saw it go that way and then it came back. This wave moves. You can actually see it moving. But the one in the back did not move. Didn't it look like the nodes were always in the same spot? When Andrew went to measure them, the ruler was there in one spot and then he could measure the other node. It looked like it was standing still. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't move. It doesn't move this way, forward or backwards. It kind of just moves up and down. Now, what should we call a wave that stands still? A standing wave. Now, these are the waves that are generated on things like guitar strings, in pipes, musical instruments. When you pluck the string, it has to fit on the string. It looks exactly like that thing in the back. The waves have to fit. When you get into an actual music situation or a situation where you have an actual guitar, the string is moving so fast I can't even see it. So when I'm doing that, you know, it's very hard to analyze something that I can't actually physically look at. So I use the larger spring today to just kind of like tone that down, slow it down. Once I got that, I can apply that knowledge and all the ideas for that to guitars and things that move quickly. So the idea here is to simplify, make it so it's palatable for people so that everybody can understand it, not just a few select students.
At Cherokee, the juniors in Janet Pulverenti's English 3 class will start off by reviewing for a test, one that will not count toward their grade in the class.
We're working on SAT prep at the beginning of class. I try to do SAT prep exercises at least twice a week because most of them will be taking the SATs either in October or March. And I want to be able to give them as much of a boost as I possibly can. And after that, we're working on Macbeth. We're on Act 3 of Macbeth where they're starting to see what's happening with his character. All right, before we start talking about Macbeth, guess what I have for you as a special treat today? SAT prep. No food. If you practice, you will do better than if you don't practice, I swear, okay? And that's the reason for doing this. So take a look at the first one. Okay. I choose to do SAT prep because I know that it's going to help them when they take the SATs. Even the little bit that I can give them during class time, it's not necessarily part of the curriculum, but I really think it's important for them. Neither nor is going to necessitate what form of the verb? Okay. Okay, so clearly you wouldn't choose that one. They gave you a break on that. Ralph is just butting in. Why is it C?
Because neither nor makes it singular.
Okay, you didn't hear Kayla, I'm telling you. Neither or nor, if you've got two subjects connected with neither or nor, it's going to necessitate the one that's closest is going to take the singular verb. If it said Anthony and Rose, then you could say like the beach. Then you would use the plural. But because it's neither nor, you have to use the singular, and that means C. Did you do better or worse than the last time? Better. Okay. Just like anything else, the more you practice, the better off you are. Macbeth, like all Shakespeare, is sometimes difficult to deal with in class because of the language. Obviously, it's Shakespearean English. It's iambic pentameter, and it's not something that they find easy. So I try to make sure that they are getting the concepts that Shakespeare is talking about. And what's happening with these characters? Why are these people doing the things they do? It's just so important to me that they get the flavor of Shakespearean English, that I don't want to deviate from that. So in order for them to get the meaning of that language, I give them as much help and hints as I possibly can, but still keep the poetry that's there, the reason why we're still reading Shakespeare after all these years. Thou hast it now, King Cawdor, Glamis, all as the weird women promised, and I fear thou playest most foully for it. Underline it. Put stars on it. I don't care what you do, but you need to know it. I fear thou playest most foully for it. The first lines that Banquo speaks in Act 3. Okay, what's he saying? What's his concern? Corey?
You got everything that was just said that you get, but he's afraid that he's done something to him.
Yeah, okay. Remember, Banquo is suspicious of his friend now. Duncan is dead, and he thinks Macbeth did something about it. So you need to underline that, okay? All right, now remember, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are putting on a big act. What are they pretending? Right, that they don't know anything about Duncan. What happened is not their fault, so that's their big pretense. Now, Macbeth is already thinking in his mind, what's he going to have to do with his former BFF Banquo? What does he have to do? Why? Why does he have to kill him? Okay, because his son would be the next king, but also, what is Banquo starting to think? What is Macbeth worried about? Yeah, Demi?
That Banquo's going to rat him out.
Yeah, okay. Banquo's looking at Macbeth saying, I know you did something wrong. Macbeth is now committed to this path that he's on. He already committed the murder of Duncan. He already killed the 2 guards. He's a murderer now. In the first act, and maybe even the second act of Macbeth, the language is so foreign to them that they're having a really hard time grasping what's going on. But as they read more, they become more accustomed to it. And I try to explain it to them as they go along. But the more they read Shakespeare, the more they grasp what he's saying. And after a while, they don't need me as much to tell them what's happening because they understand it. Why is he telling his wife to be extra nice to Banquo if he knows Banquo is not going to be there? He doesn't say, hey, babe, don't worry about Banquo. I'm going to have him killed. Why doesn't he tell her? What do you think?
In case she ends up saying something, if they both go down, then it won't be his fault.
Do you think maybe he doesn't trust his wife? Well, does he have reason not to trust her? What is it?
She's crazy.
Is she crazy? Is she responsible for some of the stuff that's gone on? And if he is indeed becoming paranoid and suspicious of everybody, won't that also mean he's suspicious of his wife? And now he is going to completely align himself with the powers of darkness. He can't wait for nightfall to come, okay? Because by then, all of the horrible things will have happened. But in literature, darkness is going to symbolize what? Death and also the powers of darkness. What is it? Evil, okay? He has completely gone over to the dark side. So write yourself a little note. It's Macbeth is bad now. He knows he's bad. You would think he can't get any worse, right? He can't wait for nightfall. By then, Banquo and Fleance should be dead. For Macbeth, I mean, it's murder and mayhem and blood and guts, and by this point they are really into it and getting it, especially when in the next act when Lady Macbeth goes mad, they really like that. And finally at the end, you know, we know what's going to happen to Macbeth. They already know it's a tragedy and they know it's going to end badly for him, but the question is why? How did he get there? You know, how does somebody start out as a hero and fall so far so fast? That's what I think is the enduring question about Macbeth. And can it happen today? Is it still relevant? Which is what I try to hit on when we're talking about the play.
For Kathy Ware, one of her many duties at Shawnee is serving as the advisor for the FCCLA Club.
FCCLA stands for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. It's actually coined phrase is the ultimate leadership experience. It's training students to become good leaders with good character. So it's a chance for students to be involved in competitive events such as interior design competitions, fashion design, child development, cooking, foods competitions, food innovations. It gives another opportunity for students to be involved in that, but it also gives them an opportunity to attend leadership workshops. There's networking with colleges and other institutions. There's scholarship money. To me, family, career, community leaders of America, they set a good example with fine character, and that's what we want to do for FCCLA.
Today, FCCLA is sponsoring a smoothie sale, the profits from which will go to offset costs for students attending the National FCCLA Conference. Following the fundraiser, Kathy's classroom is the meeting place for Operation Beautiful.
What we're trying to do is to help people. We can't make them, but we're trying to encourage them to have a positive outlook, that, you know, having the right type of makeup and the right type of clothes, or to have designer clothes, doesn't really define you. You're defined by who you are inside. And that's the message we're trying to get across for Operation Beautiful. Today what we were doing, well, what they are doing, and I'm supervising, is, and I did a little bit of it, writing notes with positive messages that on their sticky notes, and we obviously choose colored sticky notes so they pop out of the walls, and we're putting them all around the school. We want them to be positive statements, but we also want them to relate to guys as well. You know, be yourself, you know, not just girls to pick them up.
Yeah.
So what you're going to do is you're going to take these quotes, you're going to put them around the school. You can put them in the cafeteria. You can put them multiple, because people are taking them, but they're not taking them to deface them. They're taking them actually and reading them, which is the whole point. So yes, you can put more than one. Now, I guarantee you by one period or maybe 2 class periods, they'll all be gone. So it's a great, really great initiative, started by one of my vice presidents. They can go on lockers. Lockers? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying we're allowed to do it on lockers. So if you randomly, see, that person's going to wonder who put that on their locker. You know that.
I have no idea who's
locker. I know, that's what I'm saying.
With classes wrapped up at Seneca, Assistant Athletic Director Fred Rucker heads outside to make sure that everything is set for all of today's sporting events.
My main concern is to make sure my coaches have everything they need. One of the things that I like to do is ride around to each event plan for today and check with the coaches. They tease me because my line is, do you need anything? And I like to check to make sure, do they need anything? And 99% of the time, they're fine. But I like to check in. And part of that is because I was a coach. And sometimes you forget things, and maybe you left your clipboard in the locker room, or maybe you left your voucher inside. So I want to check to make sure they're prepared for today's event.
Coach and Jimmy, do we need anything? Are we good? Yeah, it's still a little early yet. Our opponent is Shawnee today, correct? All right. If you need anything, give me a holler. We're playing Paul VI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And
umpire,
just,
see the umpire
I saw one up there. So he says other partners coming in. So we should be in pretty good shape. Most of the times the officials will meet in the parking lot, and I'll drive by the parking lot to check in with those guys. Hey, do I see my baseball officials? Are my track officials here? Are my lacrosse officials here? So I'm always checking. And one of the things that's kind of nice about the job is you do make friends. After a couple of years now, I've gotten to know some of the officials. They know me. Hello, gentlemen. How's everybody? All right.
When on the field, Fred not only assists coaches and officials, but is also there to lend a hand to spectators and the families of student athletes. Today, Fred provides a lift for the grandmother of one of Seneca's girls lacrosse players.
Okay. Let me, are you okay? You need any help? Okay. Okay, yeah, it is the hall coming out here. Miss, just let you know, there's a 3-seater vehicle that goes back and forth. If you can wave him down at the end of the game, pick your mom and take her back up. If I'm available, I'll try, but I'm all over the place as a site manager, but we'll get her back up. All righty.
Next, Fred heads to the track to check on the progress of today's meet.
Look at this race here. Look at this. Come on, Eddie. Come on, Eddie. Come on, Eddie, all the way. All the way through. Come on. All right, all right. Good job. Way to go, Tim. Way to go. Timmy, nice job, man.
Yeah, Tim,
Yeah,
job,
yeah, way to go. Way to go.
Points.
Way to go. How you feeling?
Feeling good.
Feeling
Tired.
good? Tired?
I can barely move, but hey, that's how I'm
Get a cool down. Keep moving. Get a cool down and get warm. All right? Way to go, man.
Thank you.
Nice. I'm glad I saw the race. Oh, by the way, I got your letter for the Eagle Scouts for the recommendation. So I'll do that and take care of it for you.
Okay, good.
All right, very good. Get a cool down, man. Get a cool down.
Yes, definitely.
All right, way to go.
With the Lenape school day over, Jim Hessler now turns his attention to the robotics team. The team is part of an organization called FIRST Robotics. In FIRST, high school teams develop and build robots that they use in competitions with other schools.
The FIRST Robotics program gives the students an opportunity to actually construct a robot. This machine is very complex. It weighs about 120 pounds. It has many, many facets to it. It's very difficult to build.
Each year, the team competes with other school programs from around the state, the region, and the world in gymnasiums, arenas, and other large venues.
We were able to go one year to the Georgia Dome. There was 30,000 people in the Georgia Dome when we competed. People came from Israel, Brazil. It's a worldwide event. And I see it as a way of actually using technology in the school. So there's a lot of, it's not easy, but it's well worth it. A lot of students from many backgrounds, mechanical, software, business, art, graphics, people in physics classes to calculate things. So there's a wide range of people that are affected by this program.
All right, so is that good? With 1.5 inches, can we actually like...
It's not horrible. Yeah, let's try it. I think it's okay. It's going to be close.
There are 2 robotics programs in the Lenape district. Students from Shawnee and Seneca high schools make up the Iron Devils team, and students from Lenape and Cherokee make up the Storm team, whose team number is 2729.
The students come from Cherokee every day to Lenape, and we work as a group. So we formed a very tight team.
Cherokee technology teacher Nathan Knaus accompanies Cherokee team members to Lenape each day. He and Jim Hessler serve as co-advisors for the Storm team.
We need people who are experts in building highly technical things. Fortunately, we're partnered with Lockheed Martin. They provide 3 engineers for each school to help with the technical aspects. They work with the students you know, teaching them, working with them, mentoring them to successfully build this complex machine. We receive funding from them, which partially funds the robotic program. Some funding comes from the school district itself, from each school. We do a lot of fundraising. We have a booster club that has events. We're supported by many, many companies that contribute time, workmanship, and cash, money, to help fund our organization.
Each year, the first organization designs a specific game that teams will compete in at various events throughout the year. For this year's game, robots need to maneuver around the playing surface, pick up basketballs, and shoot them into hoops with varying point values.
We're at a point building where all the subsystems are starting to come together. So we've been working on it for 3 weeks. And each group kind of like works on different pieces of the machine. So the chassis people, the wheels, they've got the chassis done. The people over here are working on a shooter, and they've got that done. The ball pickup people are working over here. So all of a sudden, all these pieces have started to like basically be completed. They need to be integrated into the robot itself. This thing is complicated, isn't it?
It's engineer, right?
I know. And this stuff, I mean, it's light, man. I wish it was stronger. The robot is probably about 2/3 constructed. So here we are, we've got a semi-functional machine. We only have 2.5 weeks left to complete the task. We have a special word. We call it coopetition. So what we do is we cooperate, we're competitive, but when it comes time, we need to think about, hey, what's best for the team? Not just for our team, but for all teams. And we're going to have to do what we have to do to get it done. Now, in the next couple weeks, right, we have a lot to do. Are we going to have to stick together? Yeah. Are we going to have a real good spirit about things so that we're all working together to get whatever needs to be done? This brings the team together. So people that really care about it really get into this idea of team, working together, cooperating with each other to get this task finished.
27, 29, 27, 29, 27, 29, 27, 29, 27, 29, 27, 29.
All right, that's it. Cut. This is good. Wrap it up. Nicely done. Nicely done. Nicely done. Nicely done. All right, let's get some work.
As the day goes on and as the events go on, basically I'll make sure that it's a good game. There's no problems, no arguments between parents, coaches, athletes. And usually I'll just kind of wait around to make sure people leave the fields in a safe manner, that there are no problems. And 99% of the time, nothing ever happens. But we're here just to make sure that people leave safely.
Hey Taylor, this is Fred. How are you? All right, if you get a chance, I don't know if you may want to come back over to the track. There's an athlete from Paul VI that is sick and throwing up. I don't, it's no cut or bruise or anything, but if you get a minute, maybe you can come over and catch them before they leave. All right, thank you. All right, I'll see you. All right, bye-bye.
Being a former coach, and now I came into work in the office and working behind the scenes, one of the biggest things that I learned, how much work goes on behind the scenes. Whether it's bowling, whether it's tennis, whether it's football, whether it's wrestling, I'm responsible for all the teams, and you want to work with the coaches to make sure that we're doing the best that we can, not only for the coach, but for the athlete and for the program. And it's been a tremendous experience for me. And usually I learn something new every day. It's a job that is constantly changing and evolving itself. But it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy what I do. And it's never the same. Every day is different.
I want to finish getting that top part done.
We need to get the roller done.
Yeah, get the roller done so we can
Yeah,
start
agree.
making belts. And
Yeah,
then
let's do that.
Take weight off.
What, we got 14 pounds left? Jeez Louise,
Like,
man.
Honestly, like 10, 15 pounds of electrical.
Well, electrical, I know, so we got nothing. We're allowed 120 pounds, and the robot it's about 2/3 done, and it's already up to 106 pounds. So we're looking at it as a serious weight problem. We got to find some ways of getting the job done, but using lighter components. We also ran into some problems with integrating the pieces of the robot. We have a mechanism called the 3BA, which attaches on and latches on to other robots that allows us to get additional points. So what's happening now is the individual pieces are working, but they don't work as a system. So when they're not working together, they're non-functional. So it's a difficult time. People are worried about their particular component, but we really should be looking at it from a systems approach where everything has to fit. A thought was on this backboard material, raise it up so it's higher and make one continuous piece all the way into the machine so we don't have to make a seam for it. The main part of the robot is the shooter itself. We've been working for weeks and weeks to try to get this right. Various materials and speeds and motors. And today we demonstrated for the first time consistent shooting from a good distance. It's good. Nate! Where's Mr. K? Jimmy, get Mr. K. We got to see it. It's working. Thank God. Pretty good. It works, Jake. Nate, get up here. The thing's going in every time. The idea of the robot is to shoot from 12 feet out. We were shooting the ball from 21 feet out. Wow. Hey-oh. Wow, man, it's still going too far. In! Ah! It's smoking, or yeah, don't smoke it. We were ecstatic at the fact that we finally got all of those little engineering problems solved. We've got a consistent shooter. We've got a way to actually score points. And, everybody was just very excited about this. We've been working on it for a long time. And today was the day it all came together. Let's say the shooter is done.
Yeah.
All right, so we got that group.
Hey man, you said the shooter's done.
I think a shooter is done. You see it works? I hope so. Now that everything is starting to come together, I'm very, very hopeful. We have a solid machine. Our machine is fast, it's strong, has an accurate shooter, and just like any basketball player, I think that all those things are good attributes. The competition for first, we're competing with some of the best people in the United States. And I look at our machine and I say, you know what? I think we can play with anybody. Hey, Joe, it worked. Joe, it worked. Good job, man. I'd have to say robotics is extremely time-consuming. It's extremely tiring. It really ties up a good portion of my life. But if you have the joy of doing it, working with the kids, being able to accomplish things that you really think are important, teach the kids lifelong lessons, it's worth it to do that. I think that teaching is an amazing job. I think it's a job that does a lot of good work. I've found my calling in life, and I'd like to continue as long as I can working in this way, and it's a great job.
That was fantastic. You guys were great.
You did a really fantastic job today, Sabrina.
Play hard for each other. All right, that's all we ever ask.
Good job. Proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Educators teach many different things. Some teach English, others history. Some teach science and technology. Others, physical education or business. But teachers are not bound by the content of their subject matter. Every day they teach lessons in compassion, dedication, and leadership. They provide students with examples of responsibility, integrity, and courage. They prepare students to be successful and demonstrate how to give back for the benefit of others. Educators perform many different roles. In their audience are the future CEOs, artists, engineers, and teachers of our society. An educator's importance must not be understated, even if their devotion often is. It's been said that next to parenting, teaching is the most important job in the world. That who we are and who we become is based on our education. With every lecture, every test, and every grade, educators teach us not only math or science or writing, but they teach us how to make a difference.